Good afternoon. I'm Paweł Trzaskowski and you're watching World News. Poland is once again grappling with heavy rainfall. This comes less than a year after disastrous floods devastated parts of the country's southwest.
This time, heavy rainfall is affecting the rest of the country. Central, eastern and southern Poland are experiencing continuous rainfall, with more vulnerable areas already reporting flooding. In Kraków, southern Poland, rising water levels reach the city streets, some violently entering public transit vehicles, as seen in footage found on social media. Authorities and emergency services in the affected areas are putting in work to prevent more flooding. But the situation is developing as the rain keeps falling. For now, the weather is projected to remain bad until at least the end of this week.
There are no indications that the drone which entered Lithuanian airspace on Monday morning was a deliberate act of provocation, Lithuanian Defense Minister Dovilė Šakalienė has said. At a recent press conference, the minister emphasized that additional measures are needed to ensure more effective security for the country. This is yet another case of Lithuanian airspace violation by a Belarusian drone. A similar incident occurred on July the 10th. This time, the defense minister says it is unclear what type of drone flew over the country. However, Šakalienė suspects it could be one of the drones taking part in the major overnight attack on Ukraine, which strayed onto Lithuanian territory. Army Commander Raimundas Valskronas adds that the entry of such objects into the country is already becoming a trend, while the minister warns the drones can wander into all territories, saying they will, of course, wander into ours and Poland and cause various consequences. At least 4 civilians have been killed and over 40 injured, including children, in a wave of Russian attacks across Ukraine. The strikes included a massive overnight assault involving more than 300 drones and missiles.
Ukrainian air defenses say they intercepted most of the drones. Some, however, reached their targets. In Kyiv, a Russian drone hit an apartment building, injuring 8 people, including a 3-year-old child. Northern Sumy region saw the deadliest incident, where a Russian drone struck a bus carrying evacuees just 8 kilometers from the Russian border. 3 people were killed and 19 injured. The full extent of the damage, particularly to military infrastructure, remains unclear, as Ukrainian authorities do not disclose details regarding strategic targets. Ukrainian forces have reportedly retaken the village of Kindrativka in the country's northeastern Sumy region. The Deep State Monitoring Group said it was the second settlement recaptured from Russian forces since Moscow launched a fresh campaign of assaults on the area early last month. The Kyiv Independent reports that the Kremlin's push followed a declaration in May by President Vladimir Putin that Russia wanted to create a buffer zone along Ukraine's northeastern border. The Deep State Group said Kyiv's troops inflicted heavy losses on the Russian side. Last week, Ukrainian forces liberated the village of Andriivka, which lies just 5 kilometers from the border with Russia's Kursk region. And Russian forces have reportedly advanced between Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. Pokrovsk is a strategically important frontline city. The Kyiv Independent cites an interview with Ukrainian military spokesperson Viktor Tregubov, in which he said Russia is attempting to drive a wedge between Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka. He said there is no immediate threat of a direct Russian assault on Pokrovsk because such an attack would incur heavy losses for Moscow's forces. However, Russian troops are instead trying to bypass the city and encircle it. In June, it was reported that Russia had amassed 110,000 strong force near the town. Austria's foreign minister says Vladimir Putin has intensified attacks on Ukraine because he is running out of time to achieve his goals.
In an interview with the news portal Die Welt, Beate Meindl-Reisinger said it was becoming increasingly difficult for the Kremlin to continue its war of aggression as casualties continued to rocket and Russia's economy is battered by sanctions. She said Putin is now striking with brutal intensity because he knows waging war at this rate is unsustainable. Austria's top diplomat also said it was clear that Russia does not want peace. She suggested that US President Donald Trump's administration had earlier this year effectively offered Crimea and several eastern Ukrainian regions on a plate, but instead Putin had chosen war. A new trade agreement between the EU and the US will impose a 15% import tariff on most EU exports to the United States.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the 15% rate would apply to most sectors, including the automotive, semiconductors and pharmaceutical industries. In addition, the EU has committed to buying $250 billion of American liquefied natural gas annually for the next 3 years of Donald Trump's presidency. We'll also see $600 billion of EU investments in the United States. Von der Leyen said there would be no tariffs from either side on aircraft and aircraft parts, certain chemicals, particular generic drugs, semiconductor equipment, some agricultural products, natural resources, and critical raw materials.
Negotiations of this kind have a very double-edged effect in terms of weakening their long-standing partnership, said James Crabtree, Distinguished Visiting Fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations, in an interview with TVP World. Talking about the current state of EU-US trade relations, Crabtree also expressed doubts about the durability of the new tariff agreement, saying it's unlikely to hold for the length of Trump's presidency.
Negotiations like this, which undermine trust between Europe and the United States, actually make it less likely that Europe will want to become, will want to continue its excessive dependency on American defense products. And I think most European countries will be looking to diversify their defense base as they rearm. So I think agreements and negotiations of this kind have a very double-edged effect in terms of weakening the long-standing partnership between European institutions and European nations and their American partners.
A cyber attack claimed by the hacking group Silent Crow has disrupted the operations of Russia's largest airline, Aeroflot. In an online statement, the group said it targeted the airline's information infrastructure, with Belarusian hackers allegedly participating in the operation. The attack, which occurred today morning, caused a major IT system failure at Aeroflot, leading to widespread flight delays and cancellations. At Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport, 42 flights were cancelled following the alert. According to the Russian Association of Tour Operators, the ongoing crisis has affected at least 200,000 passengers, roughly 1 in 10 air travelers in the country. 3 people are dead and around 50 injured after a train derailed near Riedlingen in southwestern Germany late Sunday evening. While the police spokesperson said an investigation into the cause of the accident is ongoing, speculation has arisen that the recent heavy rains in the country might have played a role.
Around 100 people were on board the train when 2 carriages left the tracks between Riedlingen and Munderkingen. The train was on a 90-kilometer route between Sigmaringen and Ulm. After the 2 cars derailed, some 120 search and rescue personnel arrived on the scene. According to the Ulm police spokesperson, investigators are looking into whether the latest storms and heavy rains caused bank erosion, which could have derailed the train. Earlier on Sunday evening, the region was hit by a heavy storm with as much as 30 to 40 liters of rainfall per square meter.
Due to high temperatures and low water levels, the Danube is being overrun by mayflies. The insects, whose life often only spans 1 single day, arrived early this year and are drawn in droves to the shimmering streetlights of Budapest. Both the water surface and the streets of the Hungarian capital are covered with insects. The phenomenon has been observed several times since 2012 and is often linked to low water levels and heat. Increased sunlight reaching the river bed boosts the growth of algae, providing food that the insects can feast on. The light from the city and the shadow cast by the bridges also confuse the mayflies, causing them to get trapped in the city center. And this concludes our news bulletin. Please stay with us for more updates.